Joey to take me out of there. He took me down the ladder and we took off running down the road. I just remember running down this dark road with Joey right behind me. I heard shots and Joey yelled out, "Stop, or Tony will shoot us." Tony had come after us with a gun. He was angry because we ran and told us to stop running and go back to the chicken coop. We went back but stopped at the car. Tony got in and tried to crank it, but it wouldn't crank. So he said, let's go back in there. He made us go. I said I didn't want to and I was crying. I was afraid of that man and stayed close to Joey. He said he'd shoot us if we didn't go back, so we did. Avery was holding the knife on Charles Scudder. I don't remember Scudder saying anything. He didn't beg for his life or anything. Maybe he thought it was all a game or that it would be over soon after they robbed him. Tony gave Avery the gun and Avery said, "Well, I'll go down and get rid of that man and the dogs." We heard 4 or 5 shots in a little bit, and then Avery came running back up and said, "I've killed the dogs and I've killed the man." Mr. Scudder started moaning and crying when he heard Avery say that. Avery made him get up and helped him down the ladder. Joey and I went next, and then Tony with the gun. We all went in the house and Avery went first, taking Mr. Scudder. The first thing we saw was the body of Joey Odom lying in the hall in the kitchen. Tony told Joey, "Cover her eyes, don't let her see." But it was too late. That poor man was lying in so much blood, a big pool of it around his head. I glanced at him once and saw he had a beard, I think, and his hair was all covered in blood. I tried to cover my face, so I don't remember exactly what he looked like. I didn't want to see. But Mr. Scudder, when he saw Mr. Odom's body on the floor, he was trying to get to the body and crying and moaning and yelling. It was the worst thing I ever heard. He was in so much pain, and I can still hear the sounds he was making. He wanted to kneel down beside Joey Odom, but they wouldn't let him. It was so awful. They pulled him away, and we all had to step over Mr. Odom's body to go to the library. As we went in there, we saw where Avery had shot the 2 dogs. They were lying by the stove, all bloody too. When we got in the library, Wes pushed Mr. Scudder down on the couch and asked for his money. He kept asking him about valuables in the house, over and over. From the time we came down to the house until Tony shot Mr. Scudder was about 35 minutes. At one point, Tony was trying to get Mr. Scudder to talk, but when he kept shaking his head, Tony got frustrated and said, "Give me a smoldering iron." Mr. Scudder said, "I don't have one. There's no electricity." And then here's another author's note of why he was wanting the smoldering iron. It says, in later interviews with investigator Avery Brock would say that Tony West wanted to stick the soldering iron up his tail to make him talk and say where the money was hidden. They had planned this ahead of time. Mr. Scudder stood up one more time and tried to walk with his legs still loosely tied. He walked toward the place where Mr. Odom was lying, half in the kitchen and half in the dining room. He was trying to get to him. West yelled for him to stop, but he kept going, still looking at Mr. Odom and crying. That's when Tony shot him for the first time with the rifle. The shot went right between his eyes. I can still see that bullet hole if I close my eyes. There was blood trickling down onto his nose and his mouth, but he never made a sound. I was terrified. I was looking down at the poor dogs because I couldn't bear to look at Mr. Scudder. I was sick from the awful smell of the blood and the heat from the wood stove. I can still smell that blood sometimes. And I wanted to get out of there and run as far and as fast as I could away from that place, but I couldn't. I knew that Tony and Avery would kill me if I tried. It was then that Charles Scudder looked over at me, the blood still coming from his forehead, trickling down his face, and he said, "Teresa, are you all right?" So, I mean, here's this man, he's been shot, and he's asking her if she's okay. So, this was the most amazing thing to me. This poor man, already fatally wounded and probably knowing he was about to die, asked me if I was all right. Maybe that's why I felt and still feel such a strong connection to Charles Scudder. It's hard to explain if you've never experienced anything like it before. I was standing in front of him watching the blood coming from the wound on his forehead, and he was talking to me, asking me if I was okay. It was odd too because I don't remember ever telling him my name. He may have heard someone say it, but if he did, I was not aware of it. I said, "Oh, please don't worry about me. You just be worried about yourself. Just go along with what they tell you to do, and maybe they won't hurt you anymore." That's when he shook his head and said, "I asked for this." Tony and Avery were both acting so mean and aggressive. Tony pushed and shoved Mr. Scudder backwards, and he fell back in a chair. He got up again and tried to go the few steps into the dining room where Mr. Odom lay. Tony shot him in the forehead 2 more times with the rifle. Tony looked up and said, "Now tell me, by God, that I don't have the guts to kill somebody." Okay, what do you think when Mr. Scudder said, "I asked for this," what do you think he meant by that? I mean, we don't really know, but what do y'all think he meant when he said that?
Probably because he just thought he was fated to die there, essentially. He just wanted to, no matter how it ended, he wanted to be next to his lover, and that's...
Well, and do you think maybe, I don't know, one thing I think is maybe he felt like he was too trusting because he allowed people just to come up there and he was friendly. Everybody said he was friendly to everybody, so maybe he realized, you know, he was too trustworthy, I guess. Incredibly, Mr. Scudder tried to get up one more time to go to Mr. Odom. He fell down to his knees, but he was still trying to talk. He made a kind of gurgling sound, and Mr. Scudder fell down near Mr. Odom's body. After all those shots, he finally lay still. I just remember the room being so hot that I thought I was going to faint. I wanted to go outside because the smell of the blood was so horrible. I told them I had to get out or I'd be sick. Joey and I went to the kitchen and stood by the open door, and finally Tony said we could go outside for a minute and made Avery take a gun and go with us. Tony told Avery to look for valuables. He kept saying he was going to be rich when he left there and that he knew there was money somewhere in the house. He said he'd be happy the rest of his life and never have to ask for anybody for anything, just like he was going to be a millionaire or something when he left. They just knew there was money there, but as far as I know, they didn't find anything but some change. And then there's the crime scene photo. The big antique bed, it's talked about a lot in a lot of these books. Then Tony came and told us to help him search the house and take things to the car. At one point, Tony got me alone in a room and made a pass at me. He said he wanted to have sexual relations with me. I was sick and just wanted to get away from him, not to mention the fact that I was terrified of him and he disgusted me. I said, "No, I'm with Joey." I was afraid he would touch me, but he went away. I really hated everything they did that night, but that's certainly among the worst things that I remember. They made us go upstairs and look around. The spiral staircase went around and around in that dark house. Avery was going through all the drawers and throwing clothes on the floor. There was a huge bed, really dark wood. There wasn't much light up there, and I don't remember clearly, but I think there were lanterns. I don't think they found anything much when they searched. Tony put on a leather jacket he found, and they talked about taking the gold heart, but decided it wouldn't fit in the car. It was huge. Avery went to look at Mr. Odom and said, "That son of a bitch is still alive. I gotta finish him off." He put the pistol he found upstairs down to Joey Odom's forehead and shot him again. Okay, and then an author's note here. They left with only a handful of dimes, nickels, bits of jewelry, including Charles Scudder's bracelet, silver candelabras, and a gold-plated dagger. So all that, killing 2 people for just that. So just because they thought they were rich. The gold heart was too large to take with them. They also took Scudder's black CJ5 Jeep with white pinnacles painted on the doors. According to Joey Wells' statement to law enforcement, Avery had turned the car around to shine the lights into the house. They went back inside and found a pistol and a set of handcuffs. They were loading the car when Avery noticed Joey Odom still breathing. Avery then made the remark about him still being alive and fired the pistol at his forehead. According to the coroner's report, Odom was shot 5 times, both by a rifle and a pistol. Odom was shot once at close range with the pistol, as if the pistol had been pressed to his skin. And then back to her words. When they finished looking all over the house and didn't find anything much, they were angry. I was just none at that point, but still very afraid of those 2 men. Avery started talking about burning the house to hide any evidence, but Joey Wells said, "No, it will draw too much attention on top of the mountain like this. Somebody will come up here." I punched his arm because I was praying for the Lord to send the law up there. Tony and Avery kept talking crazy, saying they were going to live in a castle one day. Avery said he'd just live in this one because nobody ever comes up here. These men don't have relatives. I remember saying I wanted to go home because I had a little girl at home. Tony West said, I have 5 little boys that I never get to see. I said, well, that's not my fault. I still think he would have killed me too if Joey hadn't been a relative of his. It was a blessing I survived it all that night. After the valuables were put in the car, the men were able to jump start the Javelin. Joey and I were in the Javelin, driven by Tony West, and Avery got into the Jeep belonging to Scudder, and he drove it. We went straight back to Joey's mother's house, and all the way, Joey kept telling me not to tell his mother. I remember feeling threatened and scared to death. On the way to the mountain, Joey told Tony to take